It's an age-old problem in web development. How do we share common things like headers, footers, and sidebars across pages of our site? If you watched our primer video, you saw the templates we ended up with had a lot of duplicate code in them. And that's going to be hard to maintain because if we need to make a change to the header, for example, well, we're going to have to make that same change across all of our templates. Now, if you've solved this problem before, you've probably put the header in one file and the footer in a separate file, and then just included those on your endpoint page. And this is fine up to a point. You can even do this in ExpressionEngine using embeds. But we prefer the concept of layouts, which you may have seen in other modern templating systems. With layouts, you have your unique page, but you specify a layout that should wrap it. And say you're in a subsection of your site that needs to show a common sidebar or navigation, well, layouts can extend other layouts. So instead of manually including all the common pieces you need and fleshing out the entire page on each template, your template can just contain the things unique to that page and let layouts take care of the rest. So let's see what this looks like in practice, and let's fix our blog. Here we have our homepage template and our article template that we made before, but you can see if we flip back and forth that there's a lot of duplicate code here. And if we scroll down, you can see we have the same problem with the footer. So this is exactly the kind of thing that we should put into a layout. So we'll make a layout, and a layout is basically just another template. I'm going to make another template group just to organize. We'll call it layouts. And inside here, we'll make our layout template file. We'll call it wrapper because it's going to wrap each page. And the underscore is a convention telling us this template isn't meant to be accessed via a URL directly. It's kind of a private template that we just want to reference from other templates. Now we're ready to put our header and footer code in here. I'm just going to cut from one of the other templates and paste it in. And we'll grab the footer as well. Now we have our wrapper code in a separate layout template. But how do we tell it where to place our page contents when we use this layout? Well, it's pretty simple. We just put this layout contents variable where we want our page contents to appear. And in this case, we want it in between our header and footer code. Now we just need to tell our homepage template which layout to use, and we do that in the very first line. We say layout, we'll point it to our layouts folder and our wrapper template. And with this we're saying use this layout template and then take everything else in this template and put it where this layout contents variable is. And it was so simple to set up our homepage to use this layout. Let's go ahead and do this with our article template. This is looking a lot better. Our templates are smaller, easier to read, and now just have the code in them that makes them unique, and leaving all the rest to layouts. But let's see if this works. We'll visit our blog, and if it looks the same, we've done our job. So I'll refresh here. And it's working. Excellent. And looks like our article template works too. Now, one thing that would be cool is if when we're on an entry page, the entry title appears up here in the title bar. But the title tag is in our layout. So how do we do that? That's where layout variables come in. For my template, I can set any information I want in a variable and then display it anywhere in the parent layout. So for the title, we'll go inside our channel entries tag where we have the title of the entry available to us, and we'll type layout set, and we'll call this variable title. And this is going to have a closing tag. And anything we put in between here is going to be set as the value of our title variable. So we'll put the entry's title in there. Now the entry's title is available to our parent wrapper layout, and we can reference it like this. Layout title, and I'll put a pipe there to separate it from the site name. But this title variable may not always be there, so I only want to show it and the pipe if it exists. So we'll wrap them in a conditional. Okay, let's refresh our entry. And there's our entry title. And if we go back to our home page and refresh, we just have the site name here as expected. So that's the gist of how layouts work. But we've kept things very basic and simple so far, so let's take things a bit further and see how you might solve another common real-world scenario. Say we want to add a sidebar to our entry pages, but we still want to have the option to have pages with no sidebar. This HTML theme I found online happens to have a sidebar option, so let's compare the markup of this with our current article template. So here's our article template, and you can see here we have a main section, a container div, and a content div. Now let's take a look at our example static sidebar template. So this first part is the header, which we've already put into a layout, and so here is the main content section. And here, just as we have in our article template, we have a main section, a container div, but it looks like here we have a row div, and inside that is where they put the sidebar markup. And if we scroll down, there's our content div, and it looks like they added some extra classes onto it. So this is how our markup needs to change when we want to show a sidebar. Now, there's many ways to go about this, but in this case, I would at least get this existing container markup surrounding the entry out of here and into its own layout. That way, I can use it later as a good generic starting point for new sections on my site. So I'll create a new layout file called generic, and we'll tell it to extend the wrapper layout. Next, we'll put the container markup into that layout, and we'll replace the channel entries tag with the layout contents variable. Now we'll update our article template to use this new layout, and we'll update the body to only have the channel entries tag. So again, our article endpoint template extends the generic layout, which wraps our entry in the container markup, and the generic layout extends the wrapper layout, which adds our header and footer. Okay, let's go refresh and see if it works. And it still works. Now we need to find a place to put the HTML for our sidebar. Let's say for now, we want to set the sidebar markup in our article template. Maybe the entry has some related entries associated with it, and we want to show those in the sidebar. Or, in our case, for this example, we're just going to display some random entries in the sidebar. Either way, we'll use another layout set tag pair to define our sidebar markup. And cue the music. Okay, we now have our sidebar markup defined that will display 3 random entries. So now we need to update the layout to give us a new column to show the sidebar next to the entry. And I'll show you a few approaches. We could, in our generic layout, check for the existence of a sidebar, and if it's there, branch off and display the markup needed to display a sidebar. And if it's not there, display things as usual. Let's see if this worked. And there's our sidebar with our entries. Cool. But I'm not a great fan of this conditional. So what we could have also done is leave our generic layout as it was and create a new layout specifically to display a sidebar. So I'll create a new layout file, call it generic sidebar. And to make things easy, I'll just copy things over from the generic template. But this time, the layout is only going to have the markup needed to display a sidebar. This will give us a cleaner template that's easier to reason about without the branches and logic. And so we'll go ahead and put the generic layout back the way it was. Now let's switch our article template to use this new sidebar layout instead. And we'll refresh, and that works as well. Now let's say we want to add another template to our blog section, say a category listing. And we want to show this same sidebar on that page, but we don't want to just copy and paste it, so let's see what we can do. We could just put this sidebar markup directly in the sidebar layout, and then any page that extends this layout will get that sidebar. But I might end up wanting to have different sidebars in other sections of my site, so I don't want to be stuck with this one. So I think it would be best to leave the generic sidebar layout as it is, and then create a new layout that extends it just to set the blog sidebar. This way, my blog templates can extend the blog sidebar layout to get that sidebar, and then it's easy to have other sections of my site have different sidebars, all while sharing a common maintainable foundation. Now, let's update our article template to use this new layout hierarchy. And I just noticed I haven't been putting underscores on the names of these other layout templates, so I'll fix that really quick just so things are consistent. And we'll refresh. And our new layout hierarchy works. So again, to conceptualize, we have our article template, which is our URL endpoint. That extends the blog sidebar layout, which sets up the sidebar that we're going to use for all of our blog templates. That extends the generic sidebar layout, which just sets up the page structure so that we have one column for a sidebar and another column for our content. And it all goes back to our wrapper layout, which gives us our header and footer. And this is just one possibility. At the end of the day, it'll depend on your site and what's clear and maintainable for you. And that's template layouts in ExpressionEngine. But it doesn't stop there. Take a look at our documentation for more examples of how to structure layouts, some creative ways to use layout variables, and another way to set layout variables called layout lists, which is really handy for building and displaying breadcrumbs. And of course, keep an eye on this channel where you'll find more tips for using layouts.